Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For today's video, I'm gonna take you to Malaysia. By the way, there might be some part of this video where I speak Tagalog or Filipino in my native language, so try to understand what it means. So here I am, stuck in the traffic, making my way on the airport. But even though it was traffic that time, let me tell you, I wasn't late. Why? Because I left home like 5 hours before my flight. I think it's kind of like a Filipino thing wherein you have to be early at the airport. Let me tell you something, I had no check-in that time. I only had my 7-kilo hand carry. You can only imagine how much items I had that time. I didn't have pretty much, basically. When I arrived in the airport, there were only very few people there waiting for their flights. It only goes to show how early I was that time. I was kind of nervous because I knew I exceeded 7 kilos for my hand carry, but guess what? The lady didn't care. After you're done checking in and passing the immigration, this is the part where you can see the expensive stuff such as chocolates, perfumes, bags, and other stuff, which I, basically can't afford. Well, I can, but I don't want to. I don't have that mentality to buy it.
2 hours later.
Finally, it's boarding time. I had to line up early because I wanted to put my things in the overhead bin as early as I could. The competition was tough. When I was on my seat, I remember an Indonesian sitting beside me. He was kind of nice. He asked me how I was, where I came from, and where I was headed to. Obviously I was going to Malaysia and I came there for a vacation, so he was really nice.
2 hours later.
It was 1:30 in the morning when I arrived at Malaysia International Airport. It was my first time to be there, so the experience was really different. As you can see, it was clean, organized, so it was awesome. I was getting lost that time. I didn't know where I was going to, so I was just following all the passengers. Even though I was having trouble finding my way, I still knew what I was going to do. I had to go to the nearest money exchange and get some ringgit. Well, I was able to get some ringgit and a SIM card from my internet connection, but the only legit trouble that I had here was finding a Grab. It was a big challenge for me. It took me like 3 hours or 4 hours just to get a Grab. It was devastating, to be honest.
4 hours later.
Finally, I have arrived in my accommodation. It took me like forever to arrive here. You could only imagine how stressed and exhausted I was that time. But it was worth it. Here I am in my accommodation. It was kind of small, but it's good for a single traveler like me. So I wouldn't mind at all.
The next morning.
Today's the big day. I have to go to the Dark Caves and the Petronas Twin Tower. By the way, the most convenient transportation here in Malaysia is Grab. So if you want to go here, always take the Grab. It's cheap. With that being said, let me take you to the Batu Caves. Batu Caves is a Makoti that has a series of caves and cave temples in Gompak, Selangor, Malaysia. It takes its name from the Malay word batu, which means rocks. The hill was originally known as Kapal Tangan from the legend of Sitangang. The town nearby is named after Batu Caves limestone formation. Si Apo niya, napakataas talaga tong stairs na to, so nakakalula siya, guys. Well, ako kasi meron ng acrophobia, so natatakot ako sa medyo mataas, pero I overcame it when I went here. I had to make sure that I climb up the toppest part of the stairs. So you've got to be careful as well with the food and drink that you bring. If you notice, there's so many monkeys lurking around, so they might snatch the food and drinks out of your hands, so just be careful. I was getting higher and higher, so if you notice, I was really getting dizzy that time. But I had to continue. My quest isn't done yet until I reach the top.
1 eternity later.
Hey, lampagas that day! Finally, I made it on top of the caves. If you notice, this is the part where you can see the caves themselves. You can explore them as well. And that, my friend, is how we wrap it up here in the Batu Caves. Next up is the Petronas Twin Towers. Petronas Twin Towers are the tallest twin towers in the world, and its status has remained unchallenged since 1996. As an internationally recognized landmark, the Petronas Twin Towers themselves symbolize the courage, initiative, determination, energy, confidence, optimism, advancement, and zest of a nation. Right after I took so many selfies with the towers, I went straight ahead in the mall, and here's what I saw that caught my attention for real. Switch. You know me, I love Pokemon, I love retro games, so these really caught my attention. I was like, wherever I go, why do Pokemon retro games always follow me? I mean, I came here for a vacation, okay? So stop following me, retro games. This is not the time for me to buy you. As tempting as they look, good thing I didn't give in. Like, come on, this is just my first time. I wouldn't want to spend all my dimes on you guys. Sorry, not today. After that, I found myself in a Filipino store, which had a lot of Filipino products. Well, not just a Filipino store, but a lot of Filipino stores. It's basically like one building that has lots of Filipinos in it. It felt like I was in the Philippines. That's why I bought isaw, like this, the chicken intestine. As you can see, we also have here banana, which are like bananas with sugars on top. Ito yung parang tigarobes. Pagkain. Oh, may mga souvenirs. Oh, may mga Pilipino kumakanta. Diba? I also found myself in a cool souvenir shop, which I bought some Malaysian products from, such as the Isle of Kuala Lumpur t-shirts, rep magnets, and so many more. So I bought this from ate.
This one you buy for, you keep my number.
Yeah, salamat.
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 Keep my
My hotel, which is the Season Point Hotel, is close to Chinatown. That's why I took advantage of it. I went to the Chinatown itself. And these are the items that I bought from the souvenir shop. Awesome, aren't they? Well, this was the store that I went to earlier, which I bought my Filipino products and souvenirs from. This store is really great. It's literally in front of my hotel, as you can see. The name is Kuta Raya. Nice store.
The next morning.
Funny story. So I have arrived in the Malaysia International Airport, but I was clueless of what terminal it was. I didn't know which terminal it was, so I just randomly chose whatever terminal I saw from a Grab application, and it brought me here. At first, I thought I was the right terminal, but it turned out I wasn't. I was so lost that time, I couldn't find my way. Well, I tried to read all the signage, all the instructions, but I was just lost. Luckily, they have their information desk, and I tried to ask the officer where I was at and where I could find AirAsia. And she told me to go to terminal number 2, which happened to be on the other side of this place. So I had to take the MRT going there. And finally, I found AirAsia. And because of my ignorance, I went to the wrong gate. Darn it. That's why I had to take this ride going back to gate F, which was my gate that time. Despite the big fiasco that had happened to me before I got here, I still managed to come here early. That's why I had my breakfast here.
2 hours later.
It's boarding time. I'm bound for Singapore. And there you have it, mate. That is my Malaysia trip. I'll see you in my next video about my Singaporean trip. Goodbye.